So in this video, I'm going to be walking you through how I beat my school's computer science degree program. And while I'm yet to kind of execute this plan, all of the organization is there. And I've actually made videos about how to configure your college schedule so that you can maximize what you get out of your college credits. And you should really check that video out. It's almost a year old now, so let me know if you think I should remake it. But I think I'm going to be able to major in computer science, get a free minor in mathematics, and dual major in cognitive science, all within the span of 2 to 2.5 years as a transfer student. So without further ado, my name is Alex Bianchi. If you guys would please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, it all really helps out the channel. I'm getting back into this YouTube thing. I want to keep pumping out those videos. But let's just get right into it and start with kind of my academic history, and I'll keep it brief because I've talked about it other places on my channel. But in high school, I graduated with an associate's degree in social sciences. Social sciences was just the program that my high school had. I couldn't necessarily pursue a STEM associate's degree, so the reason that my computer science degree is going to take me 2 to 2.5 years as a transfer, and not just the flat 2 that you would expect from a 2-year community college degree into a 2-year university, a 2-year experience at university to get that 4 years bachelor's degree, is the associates in social science doesn't have all of the overlap with a STEM degree like computer science. But that's not the entire story, because after high school, after that associate's degree, I went to Seton Hall, a business school, for a semester, and basically all of those credits are completely wasted. I'm not going to use a single one of them. So that is fantastic. So much fun, but I learned a lot. I learned about the virtue of the education system, of academia. I learned about what I want to personally do, what my personal interests are, and I dropped out of that after one semester and spent a semester teaching myself how to code, which has gotten me a software engineering internship and done a bunch of wonderful stuff for my life. So I don't regret Seton Hall, but it is kind of a shame that those credits aren't going to be used towards any of my majors. But getting into the situation at Rutgers University, which is where I'm going to be attending in the fall, it's a little bit tricky to major in computer science as a transfer because they don't really take any CS 101 classes for their CS 111 Introduction to Computer Science. That class is a prerequisite for data structures, which is a prerequisite for Intro to Discrete Structures, which data structures and discrete structures themselves are prerequisites for most of your electives, most of the other requirements of the major. So if you're just a transfer student, you want to major in computer science, you might be spending an entire year taking only one computer science class each semester and not actually making much progress in your degree track, because you're still going to have 7 electives and a handful of required courses to take after your first year, and that could easily make this a 3-year process if you're not careful. Now, where I've kind of figured out to take advantage of the credit system that Rutgers has in place is there's a decent amount of classes that can have overlap with the computer science department in math. So, for example, this fall I am taking linear algebra, which is required for your computer science major, introduction to computer science, physics, which is a lab that is required. You need to take 2 lab classes to graduate with your BS. If you don't take those lab classes, you graduate with your BA. I personally do want the BS, and I want to take physics anyway, so I'm taking an honors physics course, and I'm also taking multivariable calculus. Now, a lot of universities don't require multivariable calculus, Calculus 3, for their computer science majors, and that holds true with Rutgers, but in the spring semester, I unlock a couple of cool things. You see, there are 2 classes, Math 477, Mathematical Theory of Probability is, I believe, the exact name of that class, and Math 311, which is an introduction to mathematical reasoning. Now, you know how I had mentioned Discrete Structures 1, which has an associated Discrete Structures 2 that require you to take data structures and Introduction to Computer Science first? Well, those 2 math classes that I just listed count in the computer science department as Discrete Structures 1 and 2 because they are the more robust mathematical equivalent to those classes, and they do not require you to take CS 111 or CS 112. Instead, they require that you take multivariable calculus and linear algebra, which, as I described my fall semester, I would have already taken by the spring. This means that all of the classes, all 16, 17 credits that I'm taking in the fall, maybe 20 if I throw an elective in there. I could throw in a philosophy elective that also counts as a computer science elective, because you're allowed to take up to 2 computer science adjacent classes in other departments. So I might do that in the fall. That's really just a checking the elective box though, so not super relevant to the degree plan. That being said, I take those 2 math classes, and then I get to take discrete structures 1 and 2 and data structures, 3 super relevant to my degree computer science courses, as well as my next physics course. Those 2 semesters of classes that are entirely relevant to my degree, with the exception of multivariable calculus, which I've already said I would not have had to take should I not want to take these 2 math classes and I had taken the computer science equivalent instead. So awesome. You get to move 2 computer science classes up into your spring semester so that you take entirely relevant classes in your first year at Rutgers at the cost of taking multivariable calculus, but not quite, because I took multivariable calculus and I took those 2 math classes. That means that I am only 2 math classes away from a math minor, which, if I take advantage of that aforementioned rule that you can take 2 computer science adjacent classes to count as computer science electives, those 2 classes can be math classes, and I have achieved a completely free mathematical minor. So across the fall and spring semester of the following year, it's going to be up to me to take 7 computer science electives, as well as a required C low-level programming class, which I'm actually really looking forward to. I think it's called computer architecture. So I'm going to have to take computer architecture and then 7 electives, and that right there is my computer science degree. But I did mention that I might get a dual major in cognitive science, and the way that I'm going to do that is with the incredible amount of overlap between computer science and math and cognitive science. So cognitive science has this really complicated kind of bunch of different bins with different paths that you can go down, and you need to take 1 from each bin and then specialize in 1 and take 3 more. It's a whole thing. I don't want to walk you through it. But the kind of philosophy that might be useful for you to understand so you can apply it to your own degree is that by using those math classes to fill in for discrete structures 1 and 2, it means that I can apply both of those math classes to a major in cognitive science because of this really complicated structure. And I get to apply a bunch of my computer science classes, 4 to be exact, also to cognitive science. So I can take up to 4 computer science classes, 3 math classes, because you can only take 3 from any other department and apply it to cognitive science, with the exception of computer science and philosophy, which allow you to apply 4 classes from those departments. That's a subtle asterisk, like I said, but it's worth looking into, and it's worth knowing that those things do exist, that you should be cognizant of them at your own university. That being said, that right there is 7 whole classes that I'm gonna have to take anyway, already applied to another major, and then from there I just have to take, I think it's 5 or 6 cognitive science classes, which I'm going to be interested in anyways, because cognitive science is right up my alley, and that's a dual major right there. So I think it might be possible for me to graduate in 2 years with just my computer science major, math minor, but taking the other semester to kind of spread everything out, maybe take a couple of fun elective classes and get that dual major in cognitive science really feels like it would be worth it to me. And that also gives me 1 other summer to acquire an internship or do research should I choose to go on to graduate school, which they might care that I do have that other degree, that I do well in a wider diversity of classes. So if I choose to go into industry in computer science and just be a software engineer, then I get another internship under my belt. And if I choose to go into academia, then I have more classes that I can prove myself in, more time to be an undergraduate researcher, and another major to show myself off to potential graduate schools. I don't see how taking that semester I lose, short of the $20,000 or so, but $20,000 for another internship, breaking even there. Sure, I could be making full-time salary should I not take that last semester, but plus or minus $20,000 on one side, and then another internship at the sacrifice of a full-time position earlier on in my career. But another major and more time for internships and research, and I don't know, all point being, to try and personally justify the cost of $20,000 for that semester, I do think it's worth it. I do think it's there. I'm in no rush to get out of college. And that was my 10 maybe or so minute rant about how I'm configuring my schedule. Hopefully I have edited some stuff on top of me so that you can kind of see what I'm talking about here, because I can understand how you might be able to get lost in my words. But if you're another Rutgers student, I'm sure I'm going to be dropping this into Rutgers Reddit and Rutgers Computer Science Discord. Then feel free to take advantage of any of this knowledge. And if you are not a Rutgers student and you're just a student at another university, then take kind of this philosophy of looking at what credits you can apply to other majors and figure it out. You can really, most kids say, oh yeah, I looked at that, and they glanced over the course packet or whatever your university gives out to let you know what requirements are for each major, whatever website it's all on. There's some nuance there. For example, those math asterisks with the discrete structures 1 and 2, those aren't really anywhere on the computer science website. They're not anywhere in any course packet. I had to find it on Rutgers Reddit from years ago and then check the math department's website to figure out that that's a thing, and I would have never even been pointing in the right direction if I wasn't doing a really, really deep search. So it's definitely worth looking into it. It's worth, if you're at a smaller university, emailing advisors, emailing heads of departments to see, can this class count for that if you think they are overlapping enough. Maybe you can get a newer class to fulfill a requirement, which it technically isn't allowed to yet just because no one has looked at it yet. That might have happened in a smaller university. Again, I could talk forever about how to find these classes, how to find these combinations, but that's what I'm doing this fall, this spring, hopefully for the rest of my degree, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got some value out of my example. I hope you like, comment, and subscribe. That's going to be it. Peace.